Hi guys. Was in the forest and so I had a lucky chance to film something. Let's talk about the technology of that dictatorship, how it's, how can it actually be implemented in this world, and what's the purpose of it, and how it works, right? Picking the best for this role or the worst doesn't really matter, It can be anyone. For example, right now in Belarus, we have a so-called dictator for 26 years. And his background is, I wouldn't say it's like, totally elite person. He came from the bottom, you know what I'm saying? And his opponent right now, his opposition leader, Tikhanovskaya herself is also nobody. I mean, she is the wife of a YouTube blogger. I mean, that's ridiculous. She is a interpreter, English language, I think, and she is a household wife. So I mean, housewife.
Thank you, Human Rights Film Festival Berlin, for awarding me with the Honorary Prize for Peace and Democracy.
So she doesn't have a work. She's jobless. She's a freelance interpreter, translator. So it doesn't matter who to pick. It doesn't have to be always the best person.
Thank you very much, everybody. We're with the president of Ukraine, and he's made me more famous, and I've made him more famous. I will say he's got a great reputation. He's very, very strongly looking into all sorts of corruption and some of the problems they've had over the years. I think it's one of the primary reasons he got elected. His reputation is absolutely sterling. Your country's going to do fantastically well, and whatever we can do.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Or the worst person. It can be anyone from middle class, from elites, from the bottom. I mean, who actually cares? It depends on the willingness of the person to become one. So if they see you want to become one, they can pick and choose you and guide you through all this, passage to the power, and it's like a win-win situation for those who control the dictator before he becomes a dictator. I mean, those who raise the dictator, those who help the dictator. It's a profit for them because they definitely get some profit after he comes to power, and that's why we see so many circles of clans that surround any dictator in the world. Anybody. We can, talk whoever. Or it could be also dictatorship. The technology is dictatorship. It doesn't have to be one person. It has to be like two dominating parties, for example, which don't let any other party to step into the battle. I mean, that is also dictatorship. And if we don't see the movement in this, cancellation of numbers of parties, cancellation of members, reducing the cost, reducing the budget of parties. If we don't see that, if we don't see these upside downs in each party, then it's definitely a fake party system. I mean, if they are totally in control for years, for 20, 50 years, this is definitely a dictatorship. I mean, it could be parliamentary dictatorship or Congress dictatorship. It could be a court dictatorship.
During that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years. And the 100 million people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very happy with.
That's simply not true.
Well, you're certainly going to socialist. You're going to socialist medicine.
What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare, and we increase it. We do not wipe any, and one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won, were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said,
But
and it's not what
that
your party
is-
has said.
that is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party wants to go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of.
Whatever the most important thought, the member of the city of the system, it could be assigned to be a dictator. Okay. Either one will be played with a rather good success rate. I mean, any dictator will be played. Any dictator. It's as I said, it's a win-win situation when those who control get their profit too. But it's becoming trendy these days to run the world this way. Yeah, it's trendy. It's a monopoly, and so everybody wants to reach this monopoly state. Mixing the dictator states with a lot of states of so-called democracy. For example, up to having 5 to 10 states of democracy to one dictatorship regime state, this is a good rate. So we have this dictator, so-called dictator country, and a bunch of like so-called democracy countries, and they kind of surround, and then they check through their neighbors, and they see like what's going on in the dictatorship state, and so on. So this is literally the example domination. I mean, I'm talking about the technology, guys. I'm not talking about what is inside. Inside, of course, you can see the different pictures in different states. In some states, you may see people a lot of profit, gaining a lot of profit, and in some states you won't see anything. So it's only up to the controllers. So how the dictatorship technology works? First, you have to choose the person that is morally right and is opposed to the current regime in the country. The regime has to follow the general democratic criteria and has to be friendly enough to the Western democracies and the mainstream narrative of main liberal media, like human rights and private property, freedom, speech, and so on. The state has to open up all the legal opportunities for the Western mainstream liberal actors to openly participate in the internal politics and affairs of that state, be sponsored by the Western non-commercial organizations, and let their people of middle and elite class to participate and study the Western-backed education programs and conferences. Don't forget about letting the Western globalists to operate on your market in real estate, including selling your natural resources and lands to the foreign Western investors, and so on. So this is literally when you let these motherfuckers in, these non-profit organizations, source-funded organizations of any Western group. It doesn't matter where you're located. Either that's Wyoming or either that's Mexico. I mean, that doesn't matter. If you let those motherfuckers in, they're definitely going to be participating in all those programs and be sponsored and budgeted. So if they really want to ride in your country, in your state, they can sure do it.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here, and I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. You got fired.
President Poroshenko? Yes. One moment for Vice President Biden. Introducing President Poroshenko.
Mr. President Joe Biden, how are you?
Very well indeed. All the time when I hear your voice, it's a great pleasure for me.
Well, I'm on Air Force 2, and I think we're going to stay connected. We just took off, and I'm hoping this connection will stay open.
extremely strong motivation. One of the possible candidates was leader of my faction, Lutsenko, who is the public figure. If you think that the political motivated figure would be not very good from your point of view, I recall this proposal. I do not propose, because nobody knows that I want to propose Lutsenko. In this situation, I take all the political motivated figures out from this process.
All right, well, look, let me, when you and I finish speaking, let me huddle with my team, talk over what you and I just talked about. I agree with you, there is a sense of urgency.
As soon as you have this type of states in a number of 5 to 10, you have to stimulate them to work better and produce more human and natural resources for the Western partners. So, you have to find a guy who could play the role of a future dummy dictator and can raise the candidate from the available opposition and support him undercover.
საქართველოს კათოლიკოს პატრიარქს, რომელსაც ხარი დაუჭირა ყველა იმ რომელიც დღეს საქართველოს აზრხებს.
Ow.
and that's where all the intelligent powers, they raise a candidate and they should plug him into the system whenever they, their agents are ready to, help that person to move further. So there's like oil. So you can't slide without that oil. So all those agents are like oil, and they oil in the way so the candidate can pass smoother to the point of to be like one or two nominees for being dictator. So if the nominee is ready to be a dictator, they're gonna plug you right into the top of the system so you can fight. And if you can prove you're good enough to compete with your surrounding competitors, then you obviously get the leadership crown. When he makes his way to the election and wins with national patriotic narrative, Westerners skip this event as something you can't help, or in truth. Mainstream media coverage started to emerge only after some days, claiming the winner as a future dictator, and they play this game. So this is the start of the game. As soon as you see somebody winning and nobody cares, and like, oh shit, in a couple of days something like turns bad. This is obviously the case when those who let the person in get the refusal on their possible corruption cases. You're saying like, we got you to power, you got to be president, so you assign to be president, you're the president-elect, so next thing you want to do is help us with this project, with this project. Now let's rob your people here before it's too late, because when it's too late, people gonna riot and kick you out of your position, right? So this is definitely a setup. That person led to be a tyrant, a dictator, just for those schemes to start working, all those plans to succeed. And when they get the refusal on all those projects, they start to claiming, oh, that person is definitely a dictator. He's a dictator, and so let's watch out. Let's give him sanctions. Let's give him, all those. Let's put him on those no visit lists and no, we don't want you lists and person non grata lists and stuff like this. So, like, they don't have to even let you visit their country to do that. So, I mean, this technology is what it does actually make you act the way you act. So this is like total recognition of your completely correct actions. So if you do that way and they claim you a dictator, they're definitely sure you're gonna continue to do what you're doing, and they're happy with it. So why they claiming you dictator? Because this is just the good reason for those who want to rob your country after you're gone, to take away what you have. So just for free, just for nothing. This is modern day piracy. I would say that this is a robbery system, what they actually do with those dictatorship states. So sooner or later, when they're ready to rob your country, they do it and kick you out, and all what you got is just stocked in their banks, in their bank accounts, and they don't give you anything. So just the Gaddafi case shows it perfect. And so when it was ready to kick him out, they they definitely done it.
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed reports.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
And so this is how this technology works. I mean, whatever you work for your nation for, you're trying to be patriotic, they claim you to be a dictator, you work further, you work harder, and you probably suck all the energy from your country, probably all the energy from your, surrounding people who follow you, and sooner or later they get tired of you. It's like 20, 15 years, I don't know how much you can rest in this position, but after that already the media picture is set up for you to be kicked out of your position, maybe a coup, a riot, or whatever revolution it could be called, and so on. So it's like, for example, if a person is also an unwanted person, he is not called a dictator, but he's compared to the dictator. It's also big technology. Like when you don't like what Merkel does, for example, you compare her to look like Hitler or whatever, and claim that she's some relative of Hitler, but she actually is not. But as comparing person to a dictator is a very big problem, and you are the dictator too. So it's like Erdogan also was compared to dictator, compared to Hitler. Trump was compared to be Hitler. Putin's compared to be Hitler. Everybody is compared to be Hitler. So, I mean, this is technology of, it's like ringing the bell and saying, so be ready, be ready, be ready. You're gonna be gone soon. So take care of yourself before we rip you apart and we rape your dead body like we did with Gaddafi. So be ready for that. And I'm sure Trump and Putin know what I'm talking about. This is the situation that they're probably gonna get into if they let those hater crowds, looters and stuff like this, let them into their residentials. And so if nobody's gonna help them, they're totally gonna be raped like Gaddafi was, and so on. So I was talking about the game, and right now we see these, game getting harder. So this video is supposed to be the prediction or the prophecy. So what I feel like is like saying it now, not further, not keeping it further as a secret for mine. I don't know. Somebody says like, where you got this all information from? I don't know where I get it from. So it's like the information and like we have the SpongeBob's, like, it's like water can pass through the sponge, but it leaves some particles inside. So we're like SpongeBob's, and then I can analyze whatever's got stuck in me and how it affects to what we see right now, and what can probably come further with this crisis this year. Is financial reset that was predictable a year ago. I can also tell you what's gonna happen. Even a lazy bank analytic predicts that it's gonna get worse. So I was saying that we're gonna remember this year like one of the best years we had in the 21st century, I'd say, because there's always good old days. That this November we're gonna see the rise of patriotic engagement rate in every country, and starting with the US and then spreading worldwide. today what we can see is actually is a good example of what is burning the country down. And what I'm trying to say is that Democrats are burning down everything just for Republicans not to have it. So it's like when you have an apple, but you don't want to eat it. You can't eat it. You ate too much, and but you don't want to give it to anyone. So you just like bite it a couple of times and leave it on the table, so nobody can take it, because somebody will bitten that apple, so nobody's gonna take you. Or for example, I don't know if that was a good example, but it's like burning the field of crops that you're waiting to harvest in September, and you burn them in August. Okay, just because you know that somebody comes and can take it from you, take those crops from you, or you suppose that he's gonna take them, but they actually don't. No, they don't take crops from people, but the media propaganda systems tells you that they're gonna take it from you. So you burn the field down, you burn all the crops just for that. So it's sad to say, but this was very much predictable. A bunch of people were talking about that. The world globalists are gonna be abandoning USA soon, just because of the system script. But they got stuck here for too long, so they're too expensive, you know. They're too. Why does everybody want to get rid of their liberals right now? It's just because they're too expensive. You know, they're not effective at all. They're stupid, and they degrade to total nonsense. And all this stuff, they can, you know, literally talk for hours but not do a thing. So
I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
At least the conservatives pretend they're doing something, and actually sometimes we even see the results. We can talk about it later on, but let's stick to what's gonna happen this year. There's not much time left. I'm saying, like, let it not be this year, because the year can end in February. So let's say that till the end of the winter, we're gonna see a huge raise of engagement and in protests, and probably the takedown of the economy itself. Yeah, all the middle class that still survived should think, what are they doing, why are they doing this, and be ready for whatever. So if you're aware of what I'm saying, you should take measures. Thanks all for watching. See you later. Bye.